There's evidence that the thing that has made me cough the past two episodes is something called SARS-CoV-2, or a variant thereof. That evidence being one of those like at-home test things, giving me a very distinctly positive result. So, that is mildly interesting. It doesn't really mean much for the Let's Play at all. I mean, so I didn't have to. Couldn't go into work today, and I do all my work from home. Anyway, I'm done with that work now. At least as much work as I could do, with SARS-CoV-2, which is somewhat harder to do my work with the whatever you want to call that, the vid, than it is to play Ace Attorney. Although playing Ace Attorney is kind of a bit harder because I will tend to cough during it. I still don't have a guess as to who did it. I'm still assuming it's actually a character that hasn't been introduced yet. Will be introduced in the trial. Because the only like character left is the Gas Man. He's the only person who's like a third party that could be it, and I don't think it's the Gas Man. Okay. Yes, I have the bracelet. We have secondhand book receipt is still in here for some reason. Street map is still in here. The part of the letter, part of the envelope that contained a card that the artist lady was reading. And I believe, oh no, I it's like a memory blank, memory slip or something, because Miss Green was reading something, and I think it was like a love letter to her or something like that, but then you can easily get that mixed up with the unsent love letter that he wrote that was left in his room when he died. It's a piece of that. So part of Miss Green's envelope ended up on the floor of Shamspeare's room, and she was going to meet up with somebody when she got stabbed in the back. We don't know who she was going to meet up with yet, but it could have been somebody who knew about why the person in this photograph died, which we thought he just got suffocated because he got gassed out. That person could have been Shakespeare. But, yeah. And so Shakespeare theoretically could have stole this off the unconscious body of Miss Green. Somehow, but then how did he get to the crime scene if Rolly Pete was there and messing with it the entire time? Maybe he got to the body when he was moving a different aspect, like he was moving the books or something. Thing is, though, Miss Green can't be the culprit because she's been in the hospital the whole time. Unless she's stuck out of the hospital, that's possible. Yeah, like so the envelope piece, this right here, implicates Miss Green. And I guess she could have snuck out of the hospital in theory. And went and killed Shamspeare as revenge for something. I don't know. This picture has something to do with something. Um, cool. Sam Spear looking for this guy's loot. Probably. Because he needed money, he had no money. Probably wasn't her. No. Could be. She would have just snuck out of the hospital, though. I don't know where she'd get the strike 9 from. They wouldn't have something like that in the hospital because it's not like it doesn't have any medicinal purpose, doesn't it? No, he's a defendant. And he gets off. No. He doesn't end up in jail. He has to show up in the next case. Suicide, that's not the way that... That's not the way that, what do we call it? This series does things. No, he shows up as a juror in the next trial, and he doesn't mention about being convicted of anything. Not yet. I mean, he's kind of the last one out. But I don't think he's not the kind of person you would suspect did it. Probably not either. He's dead. So the person on that list, the only two people on that list are like that could have been in it is Miss Green or the gas man. And of those two, the one that's most suspicious is Miss Green. So if I had to choose somebody from the list of people I have here, I would choose Miss Green. I guess I'll settle on that. Like if I had to choose one from like the list. A better choice is that person just has not yet been introduced. And it's the same person as the person who was meeting up with Miss Green. To tell her what really happened to her fiance. Oh yeah, that was what was in the envelope, wasn't it? Was the whole meet up with me at this time? Okay. I didn't remember these details well. That is my fault. That is my problem. That is something that I should do better with in the future. This is it then, Naruhodo. Yes, it's time to put an end to this now. To the miserable curse that has been plaguing Mr. Natsume, to everything. And in my own small way, I shall do everything I can to help you. I always appreciate your help, Mr. Sato. Suffering Soseki selfishly sidelined. Morning to you too, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Good morning, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Listen to you two, chatting away happily as if the main player of today's trial isn't here. Why would you do that? Why? Oh dear, you didn't mean to cause offense, Mr. Natsume. Why? Because you're not any help, that's why. I thought perhaps that because you had your eyes shut so tightly you were meditating, finding inner calm. I seemed wrong to disturb you. I was waiting. What's the matter, Mr. Natsume? You seem different somehow today. It's somewhat rare when you do something attention-seeking, and then you actually verbally complain afterward that it did not get you the attention you expected. Like, you just straight up admit it, and get mad about it. Why, naturally, that's because I've attained spiritual enlightenment. The path of literature, you see, is a journey to discover one's own death. Or such like. That's the sort of morning conversation I was hoping for. That's why I had my eyes shut. I missed the signs, I'm afraid, somehow. You'll have to forgive me. And you mustn't talk of your path leading to death, Mr. Natsume. What? Everyone's path leads to death. That was just an example. Oh yes, there it is. Inner calm. You barely came to see me at all yesterday. I was sure you'd abandoned me and returned to our beautiful long-lost homeland. We've not even been in Great Britain a week yet. Yes, well anyway. I intend to set everything straight in court today and determined to uncover the truth. I've actually reached an important decision myself. What sort of decision? I shall fill you in after the trial. Alright. It would seem Mr. Sholmes isn't coming today after all. It's a very clever message, I think. My dear fellows, you must win this battle on your own merits. It's a very clear message, I think, that he's overslept again. The great detective, my arch nemesis. Long may he stay away, if you ask me. Well, the bailiff on the right has a mustache. That might be Mr. Sholmes. Defendant and your legal representative. The trial is about to begin. Make your way to the courtroom immediately. Today, once again, we face the Reaper. And when the Reaper stands for the prosecution, the defendant's fate is sealed. But I don't believe that in that legend any more than I believe in Soseki-san's curse. The truth is hidden here somewhere, and I won't let it escape me. I have to keep believing in my client and keep fighting to the very end. That's all. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. What if the Queen will ever actually appear in this? I call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. Yes, the defense is ready. Very good. And now I call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury, chosen by lot to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to proceed? Absolutely, justice will be done. You mark my words. I feel obliged to say, I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat is sitting just right. They act like this is, like, not the beginning of the trial. Oh, well, I wonder... I mean, it is the beginning of the trial. They're acting like they did at the start. I wonder if you could adjust my hat for me, and please, be as ruthless as you like. Thieves deserve to die, if you ask me, especially gas thieves. I've no sympathy for the man at all. Look, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again now. I don't have time for this. I got my own problems. Oh, may the Lord show us all delight here and lead his righteous... Oh, the way my keyboard works made me cut him off. Okay. Lead his righteous flock... his flock to a righteous verdict again today. Good, they used the correct nomina sacra. Capitalize the his. Now, Lord Van Zykes, what can you tell us? The prosecution report, please, for the court. In relation to the theory expounded by the defense yesterday regarding the defendant's tea. So he does have the results. Well, I'm pretty certain there's going to be poison in the tea. Before the prosecution delivers the black news about the black tea belonging to the black guard in the dock. Pray allow me a moment to savor a liquid of a more sanguine hue. In fact, I'll defer to the good detective for the report. Here's to you, Inspector. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. As indicated by the defense, we found a bar of soap just outside the victim's window in the snow. And there was indeed a frozen reddish liquid in a little depression on the top of it. Yes, that's the tea. That's what Mr. Natsume brought with him that night. Well, the brains of the yard analyzed it, and yes, you're right, it was tea. and there wasn't a trace of strychnine or any other toxic substance in it. No poison at all. In other words, the tea that the defendant brought with him to the victim's room is innocent. It's in the clear. What's the twist? What a revelation. Well, I was wrong. I was sure there was going to be poison in the tea. Ah. This makes it quite clear. The defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is blamed. My learned friend is jumping to conclusions again. A typical Nipponese reaction. I looked up Nipponese and... because I was kind of afraid of it. Apparently it just means Japanese, and there isn't anything like negative connotation to it. It's like an Anglification of a borrowed Chinese way of saying Japan. So you spell Japan with two kanji, like the first one represents day, and the second one represents origin, or like book or something. It's like it's that kind of a vague symbol that I guess means origin, if you might be the best word for it. So origin of the day, or the sunrise, the dawn, something like that. If you do the Chinese reading of those, and you distort the Chinese reading an awful lot, you'll get Nippon, or Nippon. And that's it. So it's not like some sort of slur the British use to describe the Japanese. Now, I've seen Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips. So, in my head I had it associated with, like, racist stuff, essentially. And, just like the sound of the word, like, Nipponese. It sounds like an insult. Just like that combination of vowels and consonants. It's very similar to how, the S word just sounds like a bad word. Just from its sound, right? And so because of that, I got kind of scared of it. I thought it would be like a bad word. Apparently it's not. Okay, so I'm going to be saying Nipponese now. But yeah, had an irrational phobia of Nipponese in these previous recordings. What? Yes, it's true. No poison was found, and a few drops of liquid recovered from the soap on the window ledge. But what logic is that? Would you take a drop from the Thames and conclude that water in the ocean isn't salty? My word, the water in the ocean is extremely salty, Counsel. Exactly! Unfit for drinking, just as the victim's tea was on the night in question, as the court has already heard. Bitter was the precise word for the lips of Mr. William Shamspeare. Whom the prosecution now calls back to the stand. Well, you didn't really drink it, though. Well, but there was our kettle full of it? Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's request. Mr. Shamspeare. Yes, it sounds like we're going to have another confrontation with our theatrical friend. Bailiff, show Mr. Shamspeare to the stand. Mr. William Shamspeare, the victim of this despicable crime. Oh, heaven! Oh, hell! Do you command me to remember? Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a belly full of foul liquid given, in mine innocence. Yes, but it was revealed in yesterday's proceedings. The witness is not as innocent as we had perhaps first been led to believe. By using bars of soap such as this, he had been stealing gas from the supply company, yes. One may smile and smile, be a villain. Forsooth, 'twas I, Shamspeare, did have a room full of the sweet fuel given. That's right, fellow jurors, don't forget this man is a rotten thief. I have not forgotten. Kept all that about the ice coins a tiny secret, didn't you? You should have owned up sooner. Arrest him, I say. Arrest him at once, and let him feel the sting in my tail. Oh indeed, by dint of vile and cowardly means have I plotted to further mine own ends, I confess. Thou wouldst not pardon my sins, of that I am sure. If you acknowledge your wrongdoing, what exactly are you doing here? Cowards die many times before their deaths, and for a coward such as I, death be well deserved. But, with that still greater crime passeth unpunished, for lo, the hairy-faced gentleman of farther east than Verona did contrive to poison me. But there was no poison in the tea found in your room. The police have attested to that. What the defense would assert as an inconsistency will quickly be cleared up by the witness's testimony. Is that not so, Mr. Shamspare? Verily, my liege, I would most gladly speak. Very well, let the witness testify to explain this inconsistency. Tell the court why it is that poison apparently entered your body, though none was found in the tea. A Japanese man did come to my chamber with tea brewed in a pot. 'Twas in my cup alone that the miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison. Whilst feigning distraction in our debate, ne'er to a drop of his own drink passed his lips. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in his cup to make my coins of ice. Thus, 'tis no surprise that poison be not found in the tea I did pour into the molds of soap. Poison was slipped into the cup after the tea had been poured. The normal way for poison to be administered in my experience. Quite otherwise, it would be disastrous if the poisoner were to mix up the cups, for instance. But no poison bottle was found at the scene. Because quite simply, the Nipponese took the bottle back to his own room. I'm still kind of hung up over that Nippon thing, because in Korean it's ear bone. Kind of similar. Nippon, ear bone, but not quite right. Anyway. But then again, Sino-Korean is not quite right. The absence of a vessel containing the poison only becomes problematic when considering suicide. I knew that. By now, it should be perfectly clear. A bar or two of cheap soap is wholly insufficient to wash the deep stains of guilt from the accused hands. Sirs, madams, 'tis true that I, Shamspare, be a common thief of gas. But, listen here, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore would I lie. Verily I have no cause. I have naught to lose. Well, I do declare. Thank you for your testimony, witness. Counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. No jury interjections? Okay. This one seems short. Oh, there's 5 in this. Okay.
Hold it!
I understand that you are already acquainted with Mr. Natsume, is that correct? I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Do I know thee, or know thee not? Methinks 'tis all I can know that thy destiny mingles with mine. You lost me at the first thee. Zounds, sir. Thou must learn the English tongue afore thou turns thy hand to lawyering. I did, but I must have missed the archaic Elizabethan lecture. Verily and in truth, 'twas a fine flavored brew, though a drop of poison did barb its sweetness, as the thorn doth barb the sweet rose. That, dear friends, be the simple truth. Listen to Mr. Shamsbury seems in even better form than he was yesterday. Either that, or I'm in worse form. That fated evening after I did dine, at Grubb's Grubbery, a local alehouse of good report. Naught did pass my lips but the tainted black tea. But behold, the poison was not in the tea at first. 'Twas in my cup alone that the wicked miscreant secretly poured his wicked poison.
Hold it!
Are you saying that you saw the moment when the poison was added to your tea? To have witnessed the act and then drank the tea, thou dost describe the actions of a fool. Quite so, quite so. This was in Japanese before it was in English, which raises the question: how in the world they represented the early modern English in the Japanese version, but for fool did they not use baka? But no one likes going thirsty, do they? Sooner would I die quenched than parched. Would I have the choice? Actually, on the night in question, the water main was frozen, I believe, wasn't it? Were it not for the tea, in sooth, I would sooner have died frozen and quenched or parched. Right, no ice coins means no healing. The witness had more than one brush with death on the night in question, it would seem. Remind the court, Mr. Shakespeare, as to whether the accused drank any of the tea which he brought with him. With the greatest of pleasure, my liege. Thus feigning distraction in our debate, ne'er did a drop of his own drink pass his lips.
Hold it!
But the teacup Mr. Densui drank from was found completely empty at the scene. And let's not forget the defendant's maxim, drink tea while it's hot. I did gulp from the poison cup that night, and in mine agony did I writhe uncontrolled. In fits of pain I did knock the fellow's cup, and its contents spilt as blood from a gaping wound, methinks. Though certainly 'twas after I had made the coins of ice from his tea. An upset cup was found on the table as the victim was slumped over. And there is no contradiction here. It's true, there was no tea left in either cup that we found at the scene. But still, something about this statement is troubling me. Yes, of course, I know it is. It's Mr. Natsume's wise drink tea while it's hot maxim, isn't it? No. No, I'm not sure that's it. So that's the way we present on. I know we will present. I'm going to press the other two anyway. Thank you, witness. Now reiterate for the court what it is that occupied you after your guests had left and before you drank your tea. When he departed by and by, I did use the tea that remained in his cup to make my coins ice. Yes, so that you could cheat the gas company, in fact. Isn't that right? To cheat, or to die. 'Tis life's only choice. Yes. Faith, to cheat be the wise choice, and mine occupation be not an ugly one. Prithee, doth thou not see beauty in the simplicity of the ruse? No, I don't. And be very sure, sir, once this trial is over, Altamont Gas will take you to task over this legal task. I shall not run, I shall not hide. Sooth to say, I have nowhere to run nor to hide. But my lady, that thou wast... What wouldst thou with this pitiful player? Oh, I'll tell you what I'd like to do with you, starting with the shoddy shirt on your back. 'Tis time for a Shakespeare dance. What a harsh world we live in. The thieving of the gas was addressed in yesterday's proceedings. The prosecution calls for all the defense not to muddy the waters with irrelevancy. Even though that was a jury, consider that a warning, counsel. Yes, my lord. Why am I the one in trouble here? Mr. Shakespeare, after the accused returns to his own lodgings, use tea to make your coins? Is that correct? To cheat or to die, I did make my choice many moons ago. It's just no surprise that poison... Okay.
Hold it!
If having first made your special coins, it was after 2 in the morning when you collapsed. That would mean you can't have drunk any tea yourself until around that time. Once ensnared by literary debate, not else be found in the furrows of the mind. The debate about Romeo and Juliet, you mean, and who was the stronger of the two. Rightly did I pay no heed to the tea, as I wrestled with the abominable fellow. I don't remember debates like that when I was studying. Are you suggesting that neither you actually drank the tea whilst it was hot that evening? My lord, wouldst thou be privy to some Shakespearean wisdom? Husband, wife, and tea ought be a tepid be. Ought a. Ah yes, so very true. Everyone has different preferences when it comes to tea. I think you might have interpreted that wrongly. So, it's been proven that there was no poison in Soseki-san's tea. That should be hugely in our favor. But the atmosphere in this courtroom today... It feels as though everybody is against us, Mr. Naruhodo. It must be the Reaper's poison. I'm afraid that if we don't find a significant flaw in his testimony somewhere, the jury will proudly find Mr. Natsume guilty. It really feels like we've jumped into the fire here. The thing with this is, Shakespeare says that feigning ignorance, Soseki-san did not drink any of his tea. As if Soseki-san had a reason to not drink his tea when he had no poison in it. Yeah. I mean... I present on this, I believe. And we present the cups.
Objection!
You claim that Mr. Natsume didn't drink a drop of tea on the night in question. But that's impossible. How? Oh, here's another problem. Chop logic. What is this, you York-clad fiend? Is that showing that Soseki-san actually did drink his tea doesn't really mean much because Shakespeare is claiming that his tea wasn't poisoned. I guess, okay, it does mean something in that if Soseki-san, I might get you by using a san. If Soseki drank his tea, then that would mean that there would be no, if he drank it all the way down, there would be no tea left over for Shakespeare to use to make his soap coin things, except the poisoned tea. They would have found poison in the coins. Okay. The 2 teacups from the scene, one used by the victim and the other by the defendant, have a clear difference between them. One that presents incontrovertible proof. Incontrovertible? What difference? Look at the inside of the cups. Just here, there's a clearly visible ring. Yes, a tea ring. Commonplace enough. Indeed, such stains occur all too readily when one leaves tea in the cup for a while. And yet, Mr. Natsume's cup has no such ring. Good lord, you're right. It's completely clean. And prithee thee, sir, what makest thou of it? Exactly what Mr. Natsume told the court yesterday. The Japanese saying he quoted. Drink tea while it's hot. That's right. Yes, the jittery Mr. Natsume was true to his usual self that night and drank his tea in no time. If you claim in your testimony he didn't touch a drop of his tea, a ring would have developed on the inside of his cup as well after the several hours the tea was left standing. But, in short, Mr. Shakespeare, you clearly lied to the court. Get thee to a nunnery.
Objection!
As a rule, I've filled my hollow chalice up to 7 times during any one trial. You might want to keep that information to yourself. That's a Godot reference. And he doesn't get drunk, though, because he smashes it, usually, and so before he gets down to the bottom. However, you would think he would still get a bit tipsy by the end of the trial. Yet on occasion, tedium distracts me, and I pour more times than I intend, until the bottle is dry. Then you proceed to conjure another bottle. Your drinking habits are fascinating, but irrelevant. On the contrary, they illustrate the fickleness of human memory. To William Shakespeare. Yes, my league. Though you previously say that you made the coins of ice from the leftover tea in the accused's cup, could it be that you are perhaps mistaken? Could it be that, yes, perhaps there was some tea remaining in the small teapot left at the scene? The fact that had vanished from your memory until now. How is this permissible in court? What if your testimony was actually should have been this and you just didn't remember? It's objection, gaslighting the witness. Faith, my liege, thou art a magician. For verily, 'tis as though thou hast seen with thine own eyes that night. What? Forsooth, I was mistook. I did plan to use tea for the Japanese fellow's cup, but lo, when I looked, 'twas empty. And thus did I use the dregs that festered in the teapot, as my liege did suggest. Objection. And you've just suddenly remembered that now that you made a mistake. Now you made a mistake before. Are we supposed to believe that? People's memories are imperfect, my learned friend, which is why we rely on evidence instead. So let's just throw out this entire testimony then, Van Sykes. But in any case, it makes no difference. The victim's most recent testimony tells us two things of note. Firstly, that the poison was put into the victim's teacup only. And secondly, that this spoiled cup was not the source of the insipid ice coins that have bewitched this court. The prosecution makes a fine summary of the facts. Furthermore, that testimony remains valid and in full support of the established facts. In other words, the inconsistency claimed by the defense simply does not exist. They have to clean up so much wine after this guy prosecutes. I guess I think it's worth it. No. What does this mean then? I do declare, it means there's no issue with the gas thief's testimony. Apart from the bit about thieving gas, obviously. My lord, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I do solemnly swear, after I did dine at Grubb's Grubbery Alehouse that night, naught did pass my lips, but the black tea given to me by the Japanese, whose back be stooped as low as death. And on what did you dine, sir? Why, I did partake in my favorites, a broth as wouldst be called soup, and a leaf as wouldst be called salad. As insalubrious a menu as the establishment where it was served. That your gods will give us some faults to make us men. Willingly would I suffer that punishment to see fit to serve a wicked thief of gas, but I pray ye wise and noble fellows, never forget the simple truth. That be one thing, and this be another. Jurors all, your humble servant Shakespeare doth entreat you, punish the Japanese fellow for his sins. My lord. If I may speak, my lord. Yes, Mr. Foreman. I believe we may have been duped by that raw defense lawyer. By me? I do declare you may be right. We all know the waif here was making coins of ice to keep himself warm. But this lawyer lad says he's stealing gas, he deserves a dose of poison, eh? He's been leading us up the garden path, that's what he's been doing. I really never said anything like that. But what we just heard from the victim there has opened our eyes again. We've reached a decision this time. and I won't be swayed from it. You will be. The court acknowledges the position of the jury foreman, and will duly hear the jury's findings. But no, you can't yet. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your decision now.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty! Hang 'em. I hereby declare the jury to be in one accord. Oh, happy day. How is this happening? My lord, the defense asserts its right to carry out a summation examination. Very well, the court upholds the defense's right. Typical. My learned friend is unable to accept the obvious truth. This trial will therefore enter its second summation examination immediately. Jurors, the court calls upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime of which he is charged. I am a man of logic, me, and having considered all the evidence, the defendant must logically be guilty. I do agree that gas is far too expensive. I can quite understand why the man would want to avoid paying. The stuff explodes and it could poison you. It's absolutely lethal, gas is. Gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes. Truth be told, the tea my wife serves up for me is a little sketchy at times. If nothing else passes the victim's lips that night, there's no other explanation, is there? I do feel that perhaps personal opinion about gas and its supply has influenced decisions somewhat. But never mind. No, you really should mind. The truth is, our counter-argument wasn't as assailable as we'd hoped. And Mr. Shakespeare was poisoned, there could be no doubt of that. Then how are we supposed to turn this around? Just get lucky. I think we need to establish the method by which Mr. Shakespeare was actually poisoned. Just have faith that somebody wrote your story, Rhinosuke. Our only hope is to demonstrate that to the court, incontrovertibly. But that's surely most impossible at this stage. If we don't manage it though, Mr. Natsume will be found guilty. No delays, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. All of the evidence, you say? That's right, and there is no room for doubt. It's all pointing to that Japanese man with the big mustache. Says the Englishman with the bigger mustache. Which means we need to show the man some new evidence to make him change his mind. If only we had that kind of evidence. Don't worry, this summation examination has barely started, really. Perhaps there'll be a shift in the situation that shows an existing piece of evidence in a new light. Let's hope so. To start with, though, I need to find some way out of this deadlock.
Hold it!
This isn't the time and place to be discussing the price of gas, madame. But really, think of the injustice. Air is a gas, and air is free. Why should Altamont gas cost money? It makes my blood boil. I can feel myself becoming more ruthless than ever. This isn't the time and place to be ruthless either. If I might interject here. Ah, yes, madame. You have to extract it from the ground. It seems my fellow juror takes issue with the price of our company charges for gas. But it's precisely because of thieves like this man that the cost goes up. Oh, what a beastly man. That unkept mustache, those hunched shoulders. Poisoning tea and stealing gas. Utterly unforgivable. No. Mr. Natsume isn't the one who's been stealing gas. I'll thank you not for adding on more crimes. Mr. Natsume hasn't been poisoning tea either. Well, anyway, I've quite made up my mind. It's as made up as the price of gas.
Hold it!
Will you please talk about the poison rather than the gas, do you think, sir? Well, if you like. I mean, to be honest, I take poison over gas every time. You take poison? What I mean is, poison can only poison you. It doesn't explode, does it? Goodness me, what are you talking about? Set him straight, please, lawyer man. Well, it's certainly true that poison isn't prone to exploding. But I think you'll find poison can also light or heat up a room. You're right, I hadn't considered that at all. Young lawyer man. Yes. You have a good head on your shoulders. We could use someone like you at our company's as our company's legal representative. Well, I wasn't expected to pick up more business in the middle of a trial, that's for sure. Anyway, the point is I haven't had the best experience with gas companies in the past. Gas doesn't come for free. It costs a fortune to deliver it around the city and maintain the pipes.
Hold it!
Can we please refrain from all this talk of gas? There's an all-out attack underway here, in case you haven't noticed, against my company's gas. I'm supposed to sit here and take it, am I? I don't think so. He's really buzzing now. All I've heard from our wonderful fuel, about our wonderful fuel's explosions and poisonings. What about electricity, What about getting electrocuted? What about that? A little explosion here, and there's nothing in comparison. And the explosion could hardly be described as nothing, madame. And nevertheless, the theft of your gas is deplorable. My point exactly, but the gas thieves aren't even the worst of our enemies. We have far more devious reprobates to contend with on a daily basis, you know. More devious? Who, madame? Other gas companies, of course. Other gas companies? Not quite what I was expecting. We generate gas and we deliver it to our customers fair and square. Indeed, nobody is questioning that, madame. Altamont is an exemplary gas company. But there are other unscrupulous gas companies here in London that don't even have any gas at all. What? If they don't have any gas, how do they go about selling it to people? You wouldn't think it possible, would you? But they steal our gas, you see, and sell that. They steal your gas? How on earth is such a thing possible? This is like that trial in the first game where they just kind of switched milk cartons. Gas companies like ours deliver gas to people's homes via a network of pipes. But these devious reprobates secretly disconnect our pipes and divert our gas into their own rotten pipes. Then they make a contract with the household supplied by those pipes, and take money for the precious gas that's rightfully ours without us even knowing. They're diverting gas into their own pipes illegally. What a brazen form of theft. When we visit customers' houses to collect the money from their meters, we always have to check whether or not one of these devious companies has been up to its tricks.
Excuse me.
You have something to say about that, juror number 3? Oh golly, you mean me? I'm terribly sorry. I was just thinking to myself. I really did catch him off guard there. Thinking about what the lady next to you was saying, correct? Well, yes. I just got a little riled about it recently, you see. Go on. An Altamont gas worker visited my house the other day to investigate the pipe work. We need to ask you for your cooperation while we carry out a secret check of your property, sir, the fellow said. So I let him in, and do you know what he did? I'm afraid I have no idea. Please tell us. He proceeded to take one of my lights off the wall. Then he grabbed the exposed mouth of the pipe and started blowing into it. What do you think you're doing, young man? You're giving away company secrets here. Oh, please, everybody knows. But it was very nearly the death of me, I can tell you. What do you mean? I'll explain if you don't mind. As I said before, these unscrupulous other gas companies connect their customers to our pipe network. Yes, but how does blowing into the pipe come into it? Obviously, there's gas in the pipes, and it's at a fairly low pressure. By blowing air through the pipe, you can make the pressure drop temporarily. And if you can do that, any lights connected to the same pipe will flicker for a moment. Oh, I see. In other words, if upon blowing into the pipe, the lights of an adjacent property that has no contract with your company flicker, you can know that these devious scoundrels have been meddling with the pipes. Exactly, my lord. That's it in a nutshell. It's the reason why we have teams of workers going around neighborhoods to investigate which lights flicker. The trouble is, the particular worker who came to my house didn't know the strength of his own breath. He blew down the pipe with all his might, and you can guess what happened, can't you? Well, if he blew hard, then... Wait, you mean... That's right, the lights didn't just flicker, they went out. Along with the stove. Gas started pouring into the house. What a disaster. The gas supply must have been interrupted briefly because the man blew too hard, so the flames went out. I'm afraid I yelled at the fellow. Are you trying to kill us all? I said. So by disconnecting a lamp and blowing into the exposed gas pipe, it's possible to extinguish lamps and stoves connected to the same network of pipes. And then, when the gas starts flowing again, it just silently seeps into the room. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps... Yes, this is almost certainly the clue that we've been hoping for. We figured out how the murder took place. Juror number 3, the defense requests that you amend your statement to include that information. Oh, well, if you like. I don't mind. Well, I do. That's our company's secret method of identifying the rogues that try to diddle us. Like I said, madame, it's widely known already. Very well, juror number 3, you will amend your statement accordingly. Yes, my lord, although I'm not really sure what the point of all this is. Blow too hard into a gas pipe and you extinguish everything in the house. And then you're in real trouble. Press that.
Hold it!
When you say extinguish everything in the house, do you mean even on different floors? Oh yes, all floors are connected to the same pipe after all. That's true of every building. Because gas supply contracts are issued for whole properties. Well, I had no idea that was possible. It was possible to extinguish gas appliances simply by blowing down the pipe. It's not something we like to publicize, to be honest. But we have to carry out these investigations, as I'm sure you can appreciate. Indeed, it has been mentioned on more than one occasion in the papers even. Is that so? It's been mentioned to me too, very recently. An incident involving the gas stove going out inexplicably, almost leading to someone's death. Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps... Yes, it's finally starting to fall into place. The secret link that joins all these strange occurrences. Gas does not come for free, okay.
Hold it!
Let's see if we don't do the across, what happens. Clearly, this is a very involved subject, but I feel we have digressed rather too much already. I concur. Though if my learned friend wishes to become an expert in gas, I believe the subject will suit him well. To your new career in nothingness. I had to cough that out. Okay, I'm back. Yeesh. Thank you so much. You'll turn your attention to the next juror's assertion, please, counsel.
Hold it!
You mean it's poisoned? That's right. It happened a tiny few times now. This is most troubling indeed. It always days like this one when I don't get my wages. I get in it at tea time, see? And I see her doing it, my wife. She gets that devilish look on her face, and she slips some white powder into my cup. And you drink it anyway? I was brought up proper, I was. If someone gives me a cuppa, you drink it. And what happened to you? What did it taste like? It was god-awful, believe you me. Salty. Oh, salty as hell. So it's just salt. Then I think perhaps what your wife put in your tea was salt. No. So she doesn't even care enough to poison me properly. Unbelievable. My grandmother liked to quote from some movie. Salt in the coffee? Just the way I like it. Don't know what movie it was from. Okay, let's move on, please.
Hold it!
Does that mean that if the victim could be shown to have ingested something else, you change your leanings? I'm sorry, what's that now? Oh, I was just saying, the victim did actually eat or drink something else on the night. What's the matter with you? Sorry? I said if nothing else passed the victim's lips that night. There's no other explanation, is there? Haven't you been listening to me at all? I feel there's an English expression about a pot and a kettle that's appropriate here. Compared to the other jurors who don't even appear to have anything to say about the case at all, it would seem that this elderly gentleman has been listening to the proceedings far more intently. I suppose the trouble is, he has selective hearing. Exactly. But still, this juror may well be the key to the breakthrough that we so desperately need. This is hopeless. I do think that the only way to okay, blah blah blah, is by exposing the way in which Mr. Shamspeare was really poisoned. We have to prove that it happened some other way, and not via Mr. Natsume's tea. Yes, I know, the trouble is, I have absolutely no idea how it did happen. Mr. Naruhodo, I wonder if perhaps there's something you might have forgotten. Oh, like what? It's important to watch everyone involved and pursue people if they react to something someone else says. If you'd like me to remind you, okay, no, I don't want to. No, get away, me listen to a spiel. Can't do much with that. Gas is far too expensive. Are you serious? Okay then. We're gonna do this stupid thing.
Attention!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Oh, good gracious. To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 6, did you hear what juror number 3 just said? And what? Yes, of course. I heard him mumbling about something or other. There is another explanation here, I believe. Something besides Mr. Natsume's tea did, in a manner of speaking, pass the victim's lips on the night in question. What explanation? I wonder. The police checked the mouth of the gas pipe feeding the wall light at the scene, to see if there was any traces of poison there. I was curious to see what your floundering would result in this time, but the mouth of a gas pipe? Scotland Yard have enough to do without exploring such irrelevance. What a piece of work was a man. What are you trying to say, Mr. Shakespeare? What speakest thou? Prithee, is it not strange and strange? That is what I say to thee, sir. I thought I had been quite clear, but let me put it another way. The strike 9 could have been on the mouth of a gas pipe that feeds the wall lamp in your room. And that is how the poison came into your body. Good lord. Are they tasty than gas pipes? Is that what he's saying? Or is the gentleman suggesting that the poor man was so desperately hungry he tried to fill his belly with gas? Perhaps no actress could perform a kiss scene with him. For shame, madame, speaking thy fancy. I assure you, I'm not a buffoon that I have to kiss pipes.
Objection!
This is no summation examination. This is a farce. The prosecution will not stand for any more of my learned Nipponese friend's conjecture. To begin with, the lamp in the victim's room is high on the wall. In order to have placed his lips on the pipe that feeds it, he would have to be a contortionist. These are empty assertions. There is no possible proof that the man did as you said.
Objection!
It's true, I have no proof that Mr. Shakespeare put his lips on the pipe. However, I can say with some certainty that on multiple occasions, Mr. Shakespeare had been doing something in front of that lamp on his wall. And I have evidence to prove it. Alright, you've got our attention, lad. I'd like to see how you can be so sure of yourself. So would I. Let's see this evidence then. Now that I've got the jury's ear, I need to make this opportunity count. This is the proof that, time and time again, Mr. Shakespeare stood in front of his gas lamp. It's gonna be hard to explain.
Take that!
These are, wait, what are they called again? Yes, skin prints. They're found at the scene. Skin prints, counsel. I never heard of such things. The Justice Ministry is currently assessing whether or not to permit fingerprints as evidence in court, however. My lord, this is an exciting new forensic technique developed by the great detective Mr. Sherlock Holmes. It reveals all the places that Mr. Shakespeare touched in his room. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, that's black magic, isn't it? Well, if anyone could invent something like this, it's that great Sholmes fellow, that's for sure. I agree. This month's edition of Engineering Thumbs was quite fascinating. We found skin prints in many places that you would expect on the table on the costumes. However, Mr. Shakespeare also appears to have been touching some very unexpected places in his room. For example, here. On the hanging picture there, indeed, multiple handprints appear to be visible. Well, I wonder. Could he have been appreciating the artwork, maybe? At first, my colleagues and I thought the same. However, imagine standing with your hands there, where those prints are. Would you find yourself directly in front of Ah. I don't believe it. The gas lamp. Though the reason why isn't immediately obvious, it's clear that Mr. Shakespeare has regularly been standing with his hands to the wall in front of that lamp. Right, what have you been up to, you nut? I'd ask the court to recall juror number 4's earlier statement. Me? What did I say? You said that blowing into a gas pipe would make the light in the entire building flicker. And now if you'll recall juror number 3's statement. What, me now? When the gas worker who visited the home blew with too much force into the pipe, it caused all the lights in the gas stove to go out, and gas to start leaking into the rooms. Obviously that incident was an accident. However, the simple fact is, if Mr. Shakespeare were to have blown hard into the gas pipe here in this room, it could have extinguished every other light and gas stove in the building at will. Cricky! Are you suggesting that the man purposefully caused the gas to...
Objection!
Shakespeare's the murderer. Whilst I acknowledge that the prosecution is required to remain silent during a summation examination, even though you've already failed to do that, I must toast my learned friend's utter disregard for the letter of the law. What is the meaning of this, Lord Van Zykes? This curious photograph, or whatever it is, presented by the defense, the so-called skin prints, clearly that cannot be accepted as any form of usable evidence in this case. But it's an exciting new forensic technique, developed by the great detective. It's nothing. A mere toy developed by an amateur sleuth with too much time on his hands. Certainly, even research of this nature by the esteemed Mr. Sholmes cannot be recognized by the court as formal evidence.
Hold it!
Please, my lord, if I may. Miss Susato, it was not the defense's intention to submit the skin prints as formal evidence. We merely wish to present the results of the great detective's investigation of the scene as a tool by which to explain a possibility to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. And if the trial were to go to an end now, we should never learn the truth. We would never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints. Gotta pause again. We should never learn the truth behind these mysterious handprints that everyone has now seen. I don't believe we can allow that to happen, and I'm sure the jurors would agree. You're right. Whether those strange handprints are a significant clue or not, it's down to us to decide. Juror number 3. Oh yes, I do declare, the great detective's investigation results sound absolutely fascinating. And I want to hear what the shady actor fellow has to say about the shady handprints. What's the matter with you two? That was foolhardy. Well, I did say it, didn't I? You don't like to break a promise. No, wait. You heard his lordship. It's not a fair Duncan... What? Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. It's not fair dinkum evidence. Okay. Just one more juror changes his or her mind. Mr. Natsume's trial will have to continue. Thank you, Miss Susato, but I couldn't have done it without you. Oh no. It was you who identified the clue after all. This is very much your success. Why, Mr. Shakespeare? You seem to be losing your composure. Just one more juror, Mr. Naruhodo. You could do it. Very well, continue, counsel. I think I'll stop. This is a really awkward place to stop recording. I'll stop here because of like the logistics of talking and stuff. So save this.